Today we'll be looking at using a text editor for our programming purposes. So in our courses or in this YouTube channel that I have launched is we are going to actually use a certain text editor. A text editor is what you need to actually write your programming or where you'll be programming. So in our case, we'll be doing web development, we'll be doing some Python programming and some data science. I'll show you other stuff when we get to those later on. But then for now, since I just want to start you guys with some web applications so that at least you can visualize, create your own projects and solve whatever problems that you want to solve, but then at least be able to create platforms that are going to run on a browser. And then later on, we're going to get into some other applications as well. Okay, now for this one, I choose VS Code. There are other text editors such as Atom, and I believe the other one is Sublime Text. I've never used it. And you can actually even use Notepad++. I wouldn't recommend that you do that. So just this one is very convenient. It has a lot of features. You can add extensions as you'll see. So just go into Google, just go to Google, type VS Code. There it is, VS Code. Just go in. Now this is the Visual Studio Code. That's basically what the VS is standing for. It's a Microsoft product. So what you do is you click the first link, and then you are going to see this coming in, and then you just, if you click the arrow, it allows you to choose whether you want for Mac, you want for Windows, you want for Linux. I want the Windows version because I'm using Windows. So I'm going to click the Windows, and most people in South Africa especially will be using Windows. And then what you're going to have is going to start a download. It was a little bit slow mine, so that's where you're gonna have a download coming up here. And then okay, let's just wait for it to finish. It is done downloading, so you just go in and then you just open the file. Okay, so a window is going to pop up, and then afterwards you're going to accept the agreement, and then just click next. And then this is the folder. It's going to install through. Click next again, click next again, click next. So when you're clicking next, basically you just downloading the default settings and then just start installing. Okay, so when it's done, you can just say finish, and then you can expect it to launch. So you're going to see something like this once it has launched, and then because maybe I had it installed before, and then even though I uninstalled it, sometimes when it's a brand new installation, it's going to show you some release notes page. Go ahead, close that page, and also close this get started page. There's just a bunch of information. Now the most important thing is this sidebar, so let me just increase. All right, so here on the sidebar you're going to see a lot of tabs here. So what you have is you have this explorer session, and then you have this search, you have this source control, and then should be running debug and an extension, and then don't worry about this one, and then you have your settings here. All right, okay, so let's just check them one by one. So this one is basically where you're going to be controlling your files. You're going to be opening different files. You'll see once we start programming, we're going to have a lot of files, and we'll be navigating through those files. That's how also we're going to go to different folders, add and remove files from that folder, and so forth. Now this search, I hardly use it, but let me say for instance you have a piece of code here, you want to search a particular word, class or function, whatever it is, you can search it here, you can replace it here. I hardly use this, to be honest. There's something that we call version control. So we're going to use Git. I'll show you once we start using Git, and then I'll show you do that as well. Basically, it's going to allow us to move our code into the internet. We can still store our code in our laptop or our computer. For instance, things like images and so forth, you still have them, but you can move most of your code to that. Also, when you're applying for a job, you just give your potential employers access to that as well. You can just check your code, your projects, and then they can just inspect your code from that. So that's where you actually see it. and that's how we're going to use it. It's also good when you're working with a team, so people can always see the changes that you have made, because after making a change you commit it to Git, and then basically you commit it, and then people can actually see it. Then this one, the run and debug, don't worry about it. I hardly use it, but then it basically allows you to debug. Debug means that if you write a code, you experience some problems, you want to know what is the problem. Normally you get messages, and then messages are going to show you this is the problem, so you need to fix that. So you'll be doing a lot of debugging. This is one of the stressful things about programming, because you're writing code, it has bugs, certain things are not working. Sometimes you sleep, it's working today, you wake up tomorrow and it's no longer working, probably it's not compatible with something else that you have done some changes or whatever the case may be. All right, so even when the platform that you are hosting your application changes, it can actually mess up your code, and you find that some lines are no longer working. And that's where you find most people actually have to maintain. You hear people saying you have to maintain. That's what they mean when they say maintain. You have to maintain the code, meaning you have to keep it updated and relevant with the applications that you use in the code. All right. And then this one, extensions, is what we are going to use. But before I come to extensions, maybe let me just go to settings. Now you can just see the settings. I mean, if you just go to settings here, you click settings. There's a lot of things that you can choose, including themes. For instance, I'm using a darker theme, which means mine is black. You could choose different colors, purple, green, whatever colors that you want, depending on the themes that are available. All right, so these are just the settings and that we have. So these are the settings that I have. For instance, my font is 14. You can decrease it if you want. uh, you can decrease it if you want, and then you decrease the font, and then you can also the tab spaces. So you'll see once you start writing code, where's the tab? I'm looking for a tab. Now there's a tab size. Oh, it's 2. All right, so that's fine. So the tab size was up there, so it's 2, so that's fine. So that's it about settings. Like, you can close it as well, there's nothing. All right, so automatically it opened this. So if I do this, for instance, so let me go back now to extensions. Remember, I was here at settings, and then let me go to extensions. When you go to extensions, you see this. So you can add extensions, which are things that are going to make your workflow very fast. All right, so one extension that we're going to add is called live server. So just type in live server, and then live server is going to come in. This one, the 17.9 million downloads. Now if you click on it, here on the right is going to appear. So you can either click this install, or you can click this install. It doesn't matter. Let me click this install for now, and then the second one I'll do the other install. You will see this when it's done installing, so you can disable it. If you click on this, for instance, it is disabled and then enabled, so you want it to keep it enabled, right? And then if you want to uninstall whatever extension, you can just uninstall it. I wouldn't recommend that you uninstall this one. You can even install another version, like a newer version, if there's a newer version. All right, so it can upgrade. All right, so what a live server does, it allows you to save your code and actually see the changes instantly, okay, without you refreshing the browser. Because when you are actually downloading when you are building a website, not downloading, when you are building a website, what you will notice is, or what you will see is, you'll have to make changes or add a piece of code. Maybe you want to add an image or whatever it is, you want to change the color of your website, and then you save the file. To see the changes, you have to go to the browser, something like Google Chrome, as you will see, and then you refresh. With the live server, when you save the file, automatically it just basically refreshes on its own, and then you are able to see the changes without you having to manually refresh. That's what a live server actually does. It saves you a lot of time. So I haven't used it doing some back end, so normally I use it when it's doing some front end. Okay. Also, when with React, it does work on its own as well. All right. So, but then we'll see when we get to all of those things. Then the other one, the other extension that we are going to install is going to be called prettier. So there's prettier, and then what we're going to do is let's install this one here, since we installed the other one on the right hand side. So I'm just going to click install here. There's my hand, right? There's my hyperlink. Then I'm just going to click on it, and then it's installing. So when it's done, again, you're going to see something similar to what you saw with live server. So you have it disabled and uninstalled. The choice, the options are the same, so go through that. So what Prettier does is allows you to actually format your code. What do I mean by that? Let me say, for instance, you have like this piece of code here, here. So let me say I take this curly bracket and I put it here. You can see that by default you want your curly bracket to this last one to be below the second last one. So if, for instance, by default I had it next to the second last one, when you save and you have actually enabled Prettier, so when you save, it's going to by default move that bracket, that curly bracket, and then actually put it below there. So it basically just rearranges your code such that into a manner that you can actually you want it to be, and that is readable. So this is very good also when you're working with a team and you want everyone's code to look the same. So you say everyone must use Prettier, and everyone, the code is just going to look the same irrespective of who wrote the code. So this is where you can use Prettier. And then the last one, and then I'm going to show you this one, how we use it. It's called JavaScript ES6, and then it's code snippet. So let's just wait for it to come through here. All right, so there it is. It has come through. So there's JavaScript. So just click on the JavaScript again. Let's just install it. All right, so it's done installing. So now I'm just going down. So what this one does, I'll just show you this one briefly because I'll probably just use one command generally. So, but then it's fine if you don't understand what is this, but then if you, it provides some snippets, which means that it gives a shortcut into writing something that you would have had to type every time. So you just have a shortcut and then it just gives you that. All right, so this is for JavaScript. Now ES6 is like a newer version of JavaScript, and then there are older versions. There are some newer features that are taken into account. So for instance, the one that I'm going to use, is best I show you. So, and this is nice because I will also get to show you guys how to add a folder, how to add a file. All right, so if you come here, remember here on the Explorer, this is where the folders are going to be. Right, so I'm not going to use this. I'm just going to go to open file, and then when you say open folder, you go to file and then open folder, and then you just go and click whatever folder that you want to go to. So my folder is VS Code. I'm going to click on that VS Code folder, and then it's under my document, and then I have a folder that I've labeled YouTube there. So there it is, and then I'm just going to say select folder. So what it does is it just opens a new, since I don't have anything here, so it just opened a new VS Code file, and then I'm just going to get this one off, and then I'm already inside my VS Code folder. All right, so let me just show you. So under documents, I have a folder that is called YouTube, and then under that YouTube, I have a VS Code. So that's basically what I have. All right, so this is, I'm already here on this folder, and this folder is empty. There's nothing inside it. So you can see that here, right? There's nothing. I mean, if you click this, there's nothing. All right, so you can see this empty space, there's nothing. So I can add files there. So I'm going to add a file. So I'm going to call this file main.js. So when you say .js, it's a JavaScript file. When you say HTML, it's an HTML file. When you say .css, it's a CSS file. As you can see, it's also changing. When you say JS, you can see this, the yellow thing here. So this is a JavaScript file. So just say this. Now you don't have to worry about to understand what I'm doing. So for instance, in JavaScript, sorry, I can create a variable which is x is equals to 5, and then, all right, so if I want to print this inside the, if I want to print it inside the browser just to see what is the value of x, you say .log. This is going to be very useful, but you still want to start as I start teaching you JavaScript. So I have to type console.log x, which means that it's going to return what is the value of x. So you're going to see 5. Okay, so I'm not going to show you that. Okay, so what the JavaScript snippet it does is it helps us code faster. So instead of writing console.log, I just say CSG, provides me a shortcut. I just say CLG, not CSG, and then I just write X. So you saw when I clicked on it, I just said CLG, and then it gave me a suggestion, and then I just said enter, and then it actually wrote this console.log for me, and then I just had to put X because that's what I want to console. Or basically that's what I want to show or want to read or want to view, whatever how you may actually view it. Okay, so this is how your JavaScript ES6 code snippets work. Okay, so in terms of Preacher, I'm not going to show you how Preacher works. I may do a separate video on that one. Otherwise, we'll just decide if you want a video on Preacher, just leave it in the comments, and then I'll do a video on it. Otherwise, I think this should be fine for us to get started with the web development. And the next video, we're going to start building a website. Otherwise, guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.